Hello everyone, my name is Don, the movie reviewer, and today we're going to be reviewing the disaster film Geostorm starring Gerard Butler. I really didn't care for seeing this movie. I avoided all the trailers. The movie looked really dumb to me, but I saw it. Now here's my review.
If you can't stop it, no one can. 3, 2, 1. Come on, baby.
What a wonderful
An intricate network of satellites protect the Earth. But once that system malfunctions, it is up to its creator, Jake Lawson, to repair it. Jake Lawson, played by Gerard Butler, is at odds with his younger brother, Max Lawson, who is played by Jim Sturgis. I didn't really care for their relationship in this movie. Gerard Butler gives a good performance with what he has to work with. Jim Sturgis, I thought, was the weakest link here. Jim has a daughter named Anna Lawson, played by Talitha Bateman. I really enjoyed Talitha Bateman's performance in this movie. She was the strongest character. She had the best lines. She had all of the best scenes. The chemistry between Gerard Butler and Talitha Bateman was exceptional, and I really felt the chemistry they had together on screen. The Jake Lawson character in this movie is not all that interesting. Yes, it's played by Gerard Butler, and he's not like a phenomenal actor or anything. He's good with what he has to work with. His progression in the film is pretty mediocre, to say the least. I wasn't really gravitated towards his character in any way. During the first section of this movie, I did feel interested in what was happening. Seeing Gerard Butler in the opening scene and having the movie explain to me what was going on with the world during this time made sense, and I understood it, and I thought it was necessary. The way it was executed could have been tweaked, but hey, you work with what you have to work with. Seeing the two brothers' relationship progress throughout the movie was interesting, but it just felt downplayed with the lackluster performance by Jim Sturgis. His portrayal of this character in the movie was really lackluster. It felt very flat. It didn't feel natural to me as I was watching it. But the story behind the relationship and watching its progression was really well thought out. The first act in this movie feels pretty lackluster, but all the information that they're giving you about how the satellite was created, who Jim Lawson is, his relationship with his brother, seeing the great performance from Talitha Bateman in here, interacting with Gerard Butler's character was great. So regardless of all of the negatives, I really enjoyed the positives more, and they, weighed everything out perfectly. But then there's like an action scene that comes in while you're waiting for action to happen, because that's what you think this is going to be, just an action ridiculous extravaganza you're going to have fun with. But then, once you get all this information you need, nothing happens for a long period of time, so it's boring, but the information I was receiving was good. But then they throw an action scene in there that felt very forced, to wake up the audience, hey, I know this is boring, but here's this quick action sequence for you. and it to me it was fine. The special effects look good, but I felt like they should have built it up a little bit more, because it just seemed like they threw that in there because they knew the audience was falling asleep and just saying, here you go, here's an action sequence. So then after that action sequence, I was like, all right, yeah, it's fine. It made sense because they had to set everything up to show you that, yes, the satellite's going crazy. And then the second act of this movie is kind of where things got pretty interesting, but then they got really ridiculous at the same time, because that's when they implement the mystery aspect of this, which is extremely predictable. So then once you move past that, you move towards the latter half of the movie, and that's where stuff gets good. You finally get what you came here for. You get the action, you get the explosions, you get the suspense, you get the excitement, and it's really entertaining. I enjoyed the latter half of this movie. Gerard Butler plays Jake Lawson, the creator of these sets of satellites that control the Earth's weather. Like I said, Gerard Butler, nothing special in this movie. His progression with his brother in here, the information that I receive as an audience member about the relationship is interesting. I like the progression of it, but the other half of, with the brother, he was really bad. He gave a terrible performance. But Gerard Butler in here, he really played well off of Talitha Bateman. So the relationship with his daughter was good. His interaction with the astronauts on the shuttle felt like a TV movie to me, and Gerard Butler, he did what he could with what he had to work with. Jim Sturgis plays Max Lawson, the brother of Jake Lawson, like I said, and I'm just going to reiterate what I just said. Jim Sturgis is horrible in this movie, gives a really bad performance. Every piece of dialogue that comes out of his mouth it just sounds bad. His mannerisms are bad. His interaction with characters are bad. I mean, I say the only one scene I liked him in was at the beginning of the movie, and that was it, really. And then everything after that, I didn't care. The only reason I was invested in his relationship with Gerard Butler is because of the information that I received about their past and their issues. So the progression of it with the information I got was good, but then his performance just really downplayed everything, and his performance just fell flat to me. Abby Cornish plays Sarah Wilson, who is the love interest to Jim Sturgis's Max Lawson character. Now, when I first saw this lady on the screen, I thought it was Brie Larson. To me, she looks like a Brie Larson lookalike, and it's like, I don't want to be mean, but to me it seemed like she was the poor person's choice to have a Brie Larson. That's just what it looked like, because I thought it was Brie Larson at first, but then I realized it wasn't Brie Larson. So I was kind of taken back by that, because I looked at the credits during the end of the movie. It's like, oh, it's not Brie Larson, but it looked like Brie Larson. But anyway, she was great in this movie. I say she's my second favorite character in this movie. I liked all of her scenes. Didn't like her scenes when she was with Jim Sturgis, because I didn't like him. His performance was bad. But her character in this movie was exceptional. I will say this though, since Jim Cameron is planning a new Terminator trilogy, they should definitely hire this lady, Abby Cornish, because her mannerisms in this movie, she comes off like a robot. But I like it because she's tough, she's badass, she knows how to handle her own. She does make some stupid decisions, but by the end of the movie, I was rooting for her character. She did a good job. Andy Garcia plays the president in this movie. He has a minimal amount of screen time, but his performance was good. He did his job, did what he had to do, and he's Andy Garcia. Ed Harris is in this movie, and when you see Ed Harris, you know what he's doing, because it's Ed Harris. Ed Harris is a veteran actor. I love Ed Harris, and Ed Harris, he did his job, didn't need to be here, but hey, it's Ed Harris. It's great. Love him. Talitha Bateman, the star of this show, plays Anna Lawson, the daughter of the Gerard Butler character. And she was my favorite character in this movie. It sucks that she didn't really get a whole lot of screen time, because her introduction is great. Her interaction with Gerard Butler is great. I love their chemistry. I did get a little teared eyed. My eyes did get watery during the emotional parts with the two of them. It was great. I love they just bounce off each other so well. It was so great. I wish they would have stayed together throughout the entire movie, because every scene where she was crying and he was crying and they were talking, I did get watery eyed. It was great. She should have been in this movie more. I love her dialogue. I love her attitude. I love her character. I love her performance. Tabitha Bateman, you are amazing. Geostorm is your standard, typical disaster flick. Is it the best out of the bunch? No. Like I said, the first half of this movie, it's boring. Then the middle section throws some mystery in here, and it's predictable. And then the latter half of this movie, towards the end, does build up the excitement and the suspense and the action with the special effects. Is really entertaining. By the end of it, it just felt lackluster, and it's like I had to sit here for all this time just to get to what I wanted to see. Overall, I would give Geostorm a C-. I thought it was 100% predictable. It was boring during the first two acts, but I did have a level of intrigue with the opening, because it gave you the information you needed to suck in everything. And then the second act was just extremely predictable. The third act did have the heightened moments of tension and excitement that I wanted, but then after that goes back to the predictable mess. And this to me, and all the stuff on the satellite felt like a TV movie, I would say, because there's this one scene where it's like Gerard Butler is fighting the traitor on the satellite, and the camera is constantly shaking, and it hurt my eyes. I was like, oh, it hurt really bad. I didn't like it. Felt like TV movie. Characters on the ship they were fine. Some of them were funny, but they're pretty useless. They didn't get any development. So then when they did the reveal, I didn't care. It was stupid. And then at the end of the movie, there's something happening with the satellite, and it involves Gerard Butler, and you think something's going to happen to him. And I was saying to myself as it was wrapping up, I was like, okay, if they do this, I would give it a higher grade, because that would be sad. But they didn't go with it. And they did something else that I already expected. I was like, okay, this is going to happen, and this person's going to come in, and it did. And I was disappointed, because I knew that was going to happen, because they alluded to it beforehand. And I was like, okay, this movie's 100% predictable from beginning to end, and it was boring. And then, like most of the things that happen here up until the end, but the relationship between Tabitha Bateman and Gerard Butler is great. Love their scenes. And that's it, really. That's it. I mean, it's a rental movie. It's not really that great. I don't know. I would never watch this again. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.